So President Trump has just thrown a fit, and as a result, Amazon decided to change their plans moving forward. I want to explain what's about to happen because what we just saw today is exactly what other retailers, not just Amazon, are planning to do. So I'm going to break this down in a moment, but I want to start off by talking about what one of the ports out of Los Angeles is saying, because according to their executive director, the retailers have less than 7 weeks of full inventory before we see empty stores. I'm going to break down what's happening at this time so again, you guys can prepare. But before I do, all I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and now let's begin. It's crazy to think that we are talking about empty stores. Not just bare shelves, but some stores will be actually empty. Nothing in the store, simply because prices are going to surge and the American people are not planning to buy. But I want to show you something. And then after I show you this, we got to talk about what Amazon and President Trump just went through. Look at this though. It says the Port of LA executive director says retailers will soon have only about 7 weeks of full inventories left amid US-China trade war. What we know is that we have a ticking clock where stores look like they have a bunch of inventory. I walked through it was a Kohl's, probably maybe about 7 days ago, maybe a little less than a week ago. Walked through a Kohl's, and in this store, it was packed. The shelves were full. The racks of clothing, full. But here's what was interesting. The back of the store looked like it got moved in, probably like 15 to 20 feet. I also went to a Burlington. The same thing. This store was packed. Every single shelf had something on it. And I went right before Easter. Now, when I went there, I noticed one thing. There was a big gap in the back of the store that had the lights were off. That's how I noticed it. But what was crazy is it was probably 50 to maybe 80 feet of empty space. Just empty. They just brought the back of the store in using makeshift shelving and makeshift walls. That's it. That's what we're going to see. And we reported on this probably 2 to 3 years ago as well, where Walmart was reportedly doing the same thing, where they were moving their store and the aisles were getting smaller. Okay? No, or not the aisles. The aisles are actually getting bigger because they were taking out certain rows, and in order to make it look like the store was still filled, they just opened up the space a little bit. All you need to do is open up the space about 6 inches on the aisles, and let's say there's 15 aisles. Well, 15 times 6, you get the idea. You can take away certain aisles. That's what stores are doing. Now, I want to read a little bit of this to you. It says right here, it says it's preposterous, or it's a precipitous drop in value, with the number of major American retailers stopping all shipments from China based on the tariffs. Yeah, it is getting ridiculous. The prices are just surging. And I want to show you something. Look at this right here. It says Walmart and Target warn of massive price hikes and empty shelves. We've seen this before. Keep in mind during the pandemic, right? We've seen it before. Let me read this to you right here. This is from the Walmart CEO, Doug McMillon. He says, we have decades of experience with buyers, plus long-standing supplier relationships. The hard part is Amazon, Target, Walmart, Costco, it doesn't matter, Home Depot, Lowe's, they're all trying to negotiate with their suppliers. They're having very little luck, especially with suppliers from China, simply because 145% tariff is too much to overcome. It's just too much. And I talked about this the other day, where China is feeling the effects as well, because again, they have a reciprocal tariff. They have a reciprocal tariff on the United States, which is causing their citizens to pretty much riot. And they're not able to afford some of the stuff that's coming in from the United States. It's just too expensive. But here's what Amazon did. I want to read this to you. It says, after White House has a fit, Amazon denies it was going to show consumers tariff costs. There were reports earlier this morning, and I thought about doing a video on it, and I decided not to because there wasn't enough evidence. But then we hear President Trump complained straight to Jeff Bezos. It says Trump complained to Bezos before Amazon said it scrapped the idea to display tariff costs. Look at this. It says the White House slammed Amazon for reportedly planning to display the cost of President Donald Trump's tariffs next to the total price of products on its site. Now, for one, would Amazon do this? Potentially. But this is why it is interesting. The logistics behind it to show, and again, it's interesting because why would we want to show that, okay, our prices have gone up, this is the reason why. Yeah, I understand if you are against President Donald Trump, the Republican Party, yeah, makes sense. But then at the same time, you're looking at it, it's like, okay, this used to cost X amount, and now it costs this because there's a 145% tariff on China. Okay. Well, that's just going to hurt the seller. I sell products on Amazon, and the products that I sell, guess where they come from? They come from China. The majority of the products, okay, I sell come from China. The majority of items that we get here in the United States come from China. Okay? That's just the way it is, so prices are going to go up. But if I'm selling a product that now shows 145% tariff from China, and you're going to have to pay it, as a buyer, it would be crazy for me to buy that product without doing my research and try to find something less expensive, which is essentially what I think most people are doing. I'll keep reading this. It says right here, this is the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, this is a hostile and political act by Amazon. It says, Amazon later clarified that the plan is to show tariff surcharges was never approved and is not going to happen. Okay. But it was discussed, at least, and it was in the works. That's what we're hearing. It was in the works. It says right here, President Trump personally called Jeff Bezos on Tuesday morning to express his displeasure about the initial report that spurred the heated response from the White House. Yeah, obviously the White House was upset. Of course they're going to be upset because we didn't see anything like that when inflation surged and we saw, and again, the Biden administration, did what they did and what they could, I guess, and prices eventually came down, but it took years. And so President Trump and Caroline Leavitt are asking, well, where was this when President Biden was in office? Look at this right here. It says right here, why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? It says this is another reason why Americans should buy American. Okay, I get it. If we can buy everything here from the United States, great. Unfortunately, that's unrealistic because we just don't have everything. A lot of our materials, especially raw materials, come from other countries, not here in the United States. Now, I want to read this one to you as well. Because everyone's saying, these tariffs, they're going to last forever. They could. 145%, I don't see it happening. I don't see that lasting forever. I think a higher tariff on China compared to other countries, that's highly likely. But as far as 145%, probably not. Look at this right here. It says Commerce Secretary Lutnick says one trade deal is done, but waiting on approval from the unnamed country's leaders. Okay. It says right here, the stock market rose to its highs of the session following the comments as Wall Street is watching closely for signs of progress in trade negotiations. The uncertainty around tariffs has sparked volatility in the stock market and declining confidence among business leaders and consumers. Consumers are scared. I'll just give you, I can tell you that millions of people are scared, and they probably are. Let me just give you my take on it. There's certain things I have been wanting to buy for several months. Been doing my research, done my due diligence, found the items that I want to purchase. Okay, great. Then we see tariffs imposed. and prices are going to start coming up. Okay. I don't want to jump in and buy something just because I'm scared prices are keep going up. What I'm doing right now is instead of buying that one item, I found alternative that's comparably, it's comparable. It's very close. Okay. But it's probably about 20 to 30% less, not selling from a large company, from a major manufacturer, or a name brand product, if you will. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So I'm gonna save money. I'm gonna get the same kind of item that I wanted before, but it's not gonna be the same brand. That's the only difference. Because again, you look at some of these items, and I've said this before, you look at things like, let's say a pair of Nike shoes. There's some good Nike shoes out there, but others they're just regular shoes. Same with Brooks or Hoka's or Adidas or Puma, whatever, right? So Adidas already said they're going to have to hike prices very soon as well. Well, here's what I can tell you. Do we have to go and buy Adidas shoes? No. Do we have to go and buy the brand new shoes that just came out in 2025? No. We can go and buy some discount shoes, go to an Adidas outlet. There's so many here in Washington State. You go down to Oregon, don't pay taxes, great, right? But that's the thing. You can go and find ways to buy new items without actually having to pay new prices and with the tariffs as well. Because that's what we're going to see. The older clothing, stuff that's out of season, right, from last year or 2 years ago, you're going to get deals there. Where you're not going to get deals is the brand new stuff. Because the brand new stuff is going to cost more. And retailers at this time are a little bit concerned about paying more for the same products when they could potentially go and buy existing items already in the United States that will not include tariffs. That's what we're facing. That's why some retailers are a little bit skeptical and somewhat concerned that their stores may be empty very soon. Now, here's the big news. Based off of what we're hearing from some major retailers, and I'll just throw out Walmart, for example, just because this report is still fairly new, but there's some bigger retailers that are saying that they aren't going to see a kind of a shrinkage in demand. They're not going to shrink their purchases. What they're going to do is, and when I say shrink their purchases, I'm not talking about, or I'm specifically talking about like as individual stores, okay? So instead of making sure every single store for Walmart has X item, they're going to buy less, okay? So certain stores aren't going to get certain items. We've kind of seen it in the past. Not only that, but what we have heard is that certain locations could actually close down temporarily, where all those items will get transferred to different locations. Let's say a Walmart in Kent, or is there a Walmart in Kent? Yeah. Anyway, okay. Let's say the Walmart in Federal Way, Washington, right? That Walmart right there. Let's say that one isn't doing extremely well, but the one just down the road in Tacoma is doing extremely well. Okay, great. So they take the products from, let's say, Kent, Washington, and move it to Tacoma, right? That's kind of what we're hearing. Now, I want to be very clear, that is not being discussed. So if you work at the Kent location or the Federal Way location, just understand that's not happening, okay? Or at least as of right now. But that's what the reports are saying, is that certain stores, certain major retailers are potentially going to shut down certain locations, take those products and move it somewhere else. I don't know how easy that would be. I think that would be a logistical nightmare. But again, it's something that has been in multiple reports. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but that's what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.